With the barbarian, we didn't have to worry about things like spells. Now, we've got to prepare just a little bit going on. You can see the barkskin. Again, the barkskin. Right here, you can see the barkskin, the spider climb, the call lightning, and the plant growth that I talked about before. What else are we going to stick in there? As we have talked about with a cleric, just like a cleric, a druid has access to all of their spell list. So the only things we have to pick that are going to stick, as it were, are cantrips. We already have Shillelagh.
Indeed. I would vote that we also go ahead and get Druidcraft. While it is not the most optimized as far as combat is concerned, it is, I think, a very enjoyable and flavorful spell for druids.
It very much is a prestidigitation of nature, but there's only so much that can be manifested with it. At the same time, it is still fun, clever, flavorful, like you said. And as you picked a more combat-oriented one and a more story-oriented one, I will jump towards the combat-oriented one of Produce Flame. It cannot be understated how valuable a light source can be, even if you have dark vision. And then with Produce Flame, you pop a flame into your hand, and it can just stay there and doesn't harm you or your stuff. It sheds light around you, and then you can just dismiss it as an action or what have you. Or you can conjure it and hurl it at a problem and cause 1d8 fire damage, depending on the level from which you find yourself. Where we will find ourselves is 2d8 fire damage. Love that.
Indeed. Indeed. Last but not least for the cantrips, I would vote we utilize the Thorn Whip. Another very classic druid cantrip.
Absolutely. The very common misconception about Thorn Whip is that because it has a range of 30 feet, that it is somehow a ranged attack. Nay, nay, my friends. It is a melee attack that you can do up to 30 feet away from you. And then when you hit, you don't have to pull somebody 10 feet closer to you after you hit, but you pull the creature up to 10 feet closer to you. You can say, I pull you 0 feet if you really don't want them to get closer. But if you do want to, you can do your good old classic, get over here.
It's a real Spider-Man of a spell.
Moving on up, we have 9 spells to work with between first and third level. My vote always will go to absorb elements first. It gives a reaction when you take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and it both absorbs it, and then you can turn it around on your enemy the next time you hit them with a melee attack with your Shillelagh.
Second, one that I will often go for. In this particular instance, I usually either go for Cure Wounds or Healing Word. And in this particular instance, with our Circle of Land, it doesn't seem like we are going super deep into the healing end of the Druid, but it's still nice to have a bit present. So I would vote that we also prepare Healing Word.
Healing Word, and I will, one might say, entirely throw away my next vote into Cure Wounds, because while we don't want to be a healing machine, as it were, we don't want to be the heal bot, as some people may object to being just pigeonholed as the healer. Having both a Healing Word that you can do as a bonus action and a Cure Wounds that you can do as an action, though you can't do them in the same turn, being able to have that versatility whenever things are hitting the fan and you need to choose between touching the person right next to you and hitting them with a D8, or shouting over to the person that just got downed up to 60 feet away and being like, you ain't dead yet, you ain't dead yet, and them being able to pop back up just at your word can be the difference, the tide that changes an entire battle. That versatility, is more the thing that we're going for. This kind of universally helpful support, healing, melee, all of the things.
With that having been the case, we now go on to second level spells. For second level, Jer and I would love to pick a number of spells, but a fair amount of them are not available to the vast majority of those of you that we're speaking to because they have to be purchased or bought in some way, shape, or form. And so as a result of that, instead, I am going to vote for Animal Messenger as one of our spells. It's very flavorful, very classically druid, has some good support uses.
So it gives you the ability to choose a tiny beast that you can see, whether it's a ground-based one or a flying one. You can give that animal a 25-word message to send to a person. You can't say precisely like their name, go, but it's this person that looks kind of this way. I hope you find them. Go that direction. And it will go...
Fly, my sweet bird friend.
Anyways, so they will either run 25 miles for you or fly 50 miles for you to get your message to where it's going at level 2. It goes up by the number of days that they will travel for you, 50 miles per day, 25 miles per day, and you can send them as far as you have the spell level to do so. It is also a ritual spell, so if you just use it at its base level, you can just meditate for 10 minutes and 6 seconds and send this animal out for your message. My vote on the back end of that is Heat Metal. The Heat Metal is so much fun. Its concentration, like so many spells under the Druid umbrella are, but you can find somebody who does not share your belief in not wearing metal armor, who has a shield strapped to their arm, who's holding a sword that you really don't want them to hold, and you can play the little jack-in-the-box and say, drop it! And if they don't, they take 2d8 fire damage, both when you cast the spell, and then until the spell ends, you can use your bonus action on subsequent turns to keep exerting your fiery will over their thing. And if it's a suit of armor that they cannot remove just like that, you know, a sword you might drop, a shield you might actually take an action to drop, but a suit of armor burns.
An excellent selection. The last one that I am going to pick for second level is going to be Flaming Sphere, which is just an absolute classic of a spell. Flaming Sphere makes it so that as an action within 60 feet of you, you can summon a 5-foot diameter sphere of flame that you can then have move around the battlefield at your will. Any creature that ends its turn within 5 feet of the sphere must make a dexterity saving throw or take 2d6 fire damage on a failed save. Also, if you slam the sphere into a creature, they must again make that saving throw and again take that damage if they fail to save. Even if they do succeed on the save, they do take half damage as well. So it's not, you're usually getting some damage in there. You're usually causing a little bit of pain. It can also go over barriers up to 5 feet tall and jump across pits up to 10 feet wide and ignites flammable objects not being worn or carried. And of course also sheds bright light. So if you find yourself in a cave being attacked by a bunch of things and need some light, not only do you now have the light, but you also have the means by which to eliminate some of those threats attacking you within that cave.
Very similarly to that of Heat Metal, using this Flaming Sphere is a bonus action. So that very precious action economy that you have, you may need that bonus action to do something else. Or you can conjure that Flaming Sphere as an action, move it as a bonus action, and then the very next turn, all of a sudden you down into a wolf and start running around, getting mobile, and have that extra layer of hit points and everything to be able to keep you safe, keep your flaming sphere safe, and harm your enemies.
It's beautiful stuff, gang. It's beautiful stuff.
As we move up into the third level spells, I am going to do what some may call a very unorthodox thing, and I'm going to slide all the way back to level 1. I want to pitch Thunderwave. I think I've talked about Thunderwave before, but it's so much fun. It's that just bop and just wave of energy, hits things, throws things. It's thunder-based violence, which is some of my favorite kind of violence.
For my next pick, I think I am going to select Tidal Wave. It's not the most in flavor for the forest, but I don't know about all of you. But when I was a child, watching Fellowship for the Ring for the very first time, and I beheld as Arwen summoned the spirits of the river to come surging forth to wipe the Nazgul off the battlefield, that was one of the most beautiful, majestic, and epic things that I had ever witnessed, and to this day, that moment just brings something out of me. And to me, that's kind of the fantasy that the Tidal Wave spell delivers on. When you cast Tidal Wave, you use up an action, and you conjure a wave of water that crashes down on an area within 120 feet of you. It can be up to 30 feet long and up to 10 feet wide and up to 10 feet tall. So if you cast this in a hallway, oh buddy, it can be devastating. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 4d8 bludgeoning damage and is knocked prone. On a successful save, they take half as much damage and are not knocked prone. Nonetheless, this just summoning of the natural force of water is just so cool to me.
It flies in, obliterates things, and then it kind of washes to anything within 30 feet of it as the water dismisses itself again. As you can see, it does have a material component of a drop of water, though if you have your staff, you don't need it. But, I mean, if you think about it, in the middle of a battle, you're probably starting to sweat, so you can even flavor it as just being like, oh, wipe my brow, and then, BAM! That is super freaking cool. And then, let's see here, we're down to our last pick. I get the last pick. So,
Indeed.
If I were to give my last pick to any one thing, we already have plant growth, we already have call lightning. If we are looking for something worth having, I am going to give it to the very epic Dispel Magic. It's very useful. You will have people on the battlefield that have all sorts of buffs, all sorts of spells that they will put on themselves. Mage armor, haste, armor of Agathis, all of these spells that last time. Mirror image, for heaven's sakes, which spared a player of mine last night his entire hit point pool worth of damage in the 3 hits that he would have taken from a big, scary statue monster. Shout out to Jace. Good boy. But Dispel Magic, if one of my guys had it and was willing to use it on him, all of those mirror images would have just misted away. Just like that. I won't talk about how they killed the guy with Dispel Magic, though. Anyways.
So, out of the 9 spells and 3 cantrips that we had to select, those are our picks for this sweet, sweet little gnome nature boy. Thank you so much for joining us.
We love having you. We love y'all coming back and looking at this. If you can't tell, we are gearing up for our next big battle royale, but this time, should we spoil it for him, Mason?
Sure. Why not?
We came up with an idea. where we're giving you a whole slew of 8 characters. The first 4 are going to be one team. The second 4 are going to be another team. And when we bring back a new cadre of folk to play these characters, you guys that are going to be playing are going to be picking which team you want to run with. And then we're going to do the draft like you normally do. Y'all are going to get your characters, and then I get to run the other team. So all of this building, all of this stuff, you're giving me stuff, I'm putting in stuff. We're throwing in that alchemy to have a battle royale.
So prepare yourselves, stick with us, see what these different fighters are going to be like, and then tune in to see which team is going to win the SmackDown.
We're anticipating that coming up into the new year, so stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out with us. Keep going.
Watch out for all the frickin' dungeons out there.
So many dungeons!
I thought that we were in a bad time for construction, but I swear, I just run into them constantly. I don't know if they're building new ones or if I have.
The age of Arcanum was so long ago. All right, well, I think we got it.